Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Thursday, November 12th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. California just surpassed 1 million coronavirus cases, and we are the second state to reach that grim milestone. Texas was first. Today, San Diego County reported 2 days' worth of data, including 1,281 new cases and 3 deaths from the virus. We're less than 48 hours from new purple tier restrictions taking effect. But as KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman tells us, some businesses aren't sure if they can afford it.
It's just not justified.
Peter San Nicolas of Ramona Fitness Center is one of the many business owners weighing whether or not to comply with looming closure orders this weekend.
They have to look at the other side of, if we do this, what is the effect? And then they like brush it under the rug.
Back in August, San Nicolas was charged by the district attorney's office for violating a different closure order, but those charges were later dropped. He's also joined other San Diego County gyms in a lawsuit against the state, arguing that restrictions are crippling his business.
We get through a good time of year with January, February, March, like New Year's, people coming back. I'll be able to see, okay, are we going to be able to make it? Now, with this shutdown, I don't know, but I'm not going to quit.
It's not only gyms, restaurants, churches, and movie theaters have to stop all indoor operations by Saturday. San Nicolas says owners of those businesses are facing some tough choices.
So we could close down and then possibly just go out of business. For a lot of people, that's what that's going to mean. Or you could stay open and, yes, go against the orders and maybe still be put out of business. So what's the risk? We could possibly fail either way. So what do we have to lose?
Just down the street at Mama Ramona's restaurant, owner Andrew Simmons is getting ready to close his dining room.
I would love to stay open, but I don't think that the county will allow us, and I can't afford to have my restaurant shut down.
Simmons bought this Italian eatery the month before the pandemic hit.
We haven't really made money since buying the restaurant. It's been a loss for us every month.
He's actually taken on a new challenge to cover the restaurant's losses, selling online Amazon returns.
So those sales actually help supplement our regular sales, so that we're only losing $5,000 or $10,000 a month instead of $20,000 or $30,000 a month.
Simmons will move exclusively to takeout, delivery, and outside seating this weekend. Business owners are planning another Reopen San Diego rally outside the county building on Monday. There, they'll be demanding local control over coronavirus closures and future restrictions. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Most museums must now close in our county, in some cases for the second time. KPBS reporter John Carroll spoke to the head of the Air and Space Museum, who says the one-size-fits-all method of determining closures does not work.
San Diego's Air and Space Museum is an airy place. When you're displaying airplanes, having high ceilings is a must. The roof of the center pavilion isn't sealed to the building. Fresh air is always circulating up there, unless it rains, and then they bring out a canvas cover.
Not every structure is the same. Not every organization is the same.
Museum president and CEO Jim Kidrick says the museum follows the strictest COVID guidelines, and he says since it reopened in June, there have been no COVID outbreaks traced back to the museum. Kidrick says he and his management team considered appealing to the county to be able to stay open, but decided against it in the end.
It was a challenging decision. We don't necessarily believe in it, but we're going to stick with our community, and that's very, very important to us.
Kidrick says the decision to not fight the order, to go ahead and close again, was agonizing. He worries about his employees, and he says the museum should be viewed as an essential business.
We're an educational field trip. We're an opportunity. We're socially distanced. We're a perfect environment, for that STEM learning. okay, because we're kind of the practical application of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Now that we're in the purple tier, the only places that'll stay open in Balboa Park are the Japanese Friendship Garden and the parts of the zoo that are outdoors. The other museums are either already closed or will close beginning Saturday. So is San Diego in danger of losing any of its museums?
I talked to a representative from the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership. They are an umbrella group representing most of the museums in the park. And they told me that for now, the museums are pretty much hanging in there. Here at the Model Railroad Museum, they've actually launched a capital campaign to raise $40,000.
Many of the museums are doing a lot in the virtual world right now, including selling merchandise, steeling themselves for months more of no visitors, and looking forward to the day when they can hang banners like this once again. John Carroll, KPBS News.
And any hopes of visiting Disneyland before the end of the year may have just been dashed. Disney's chief financial officer said in a call with investors today that Disneyland and Disney California Adventure are not expected to reopen until 2021. The company also recently laid off 28,000 employees at its parks in California and in Florida. COVID-19 canceled many events that were planned at the Mar Fairgrounds, and now, as North County reporter Tanya Thorne tells us, organizers are working out what next year will look like.
As the San Diego County Fair and large events vanished due to COVID-19, so did major earnings for the Del Mar Fairgrounds.
COVID certainly has not helped in terms of things, but we're just continuing to work through it on a daily basis, really.
By the end of the year, the state-owned fairgrounds are expected to see a 90% loss of forecasted earnings. This has forced large staff layoffs, leaving only 15% of staff to handle the events that can still happen with COVID restrictions.
Today we know drive-through events, drive-in events, activities of that nature, open space, these are all going to be really key and important things in the near future for the foreseeable future.
The recent drive-through Scream Zone was highly successful, and the upcoming Holidays in Your Car drive-through light show is expected to draw some crowds. The grounds continue to hold crowdless horse races, drive-in movies and concerts, and retail events such as Snow Jam, all with COVID restrictions for visitors. Moore says a COVID version of the fair is expected this summer.
We can sort of reshape events that we have had historically to fit into what is allowed to happen in terms of activities, depending on what the public health orders are at the time.
Another change that could be coming to the fairgrounds is a proposal to build affordable housing on the property. The city of Del Mar currently has no affordable housing and faces state penalties. Some proposed sites would be on the outskirts of the fairgrounds, where residential use wouldn't interfere with the use of the fairgrounds and future events. Moore says it could be another 3 to 4 years before anything is set in stone. In Del Mar, Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Another 709,000 Americans filed first-time claims for unemployment benefits last week. The Labor Department reported those seasonably adjusted numbers today. There were also nearly 300,000 new pandemic unemployment assistance filings. That program gives benefits to those who are not eligible for normal state aid, including people who are self-employed. Continued jobless claims were at 6.8 million. It's now been a week since President Trump last delivered public remarks on the election or any other topic, but the Biden-Harris team continues to move forward even if the Trump administration maintains some key roadblocks. Karen Kaifa has the latest from Washington.
Still no concession from President Trump, even as more Republicans acknowledge it's time to move ahead.
We need to consider the former vice president as the president-elect. Joe Biden is the president-elect.
Democrats confident in the Biden-Harris team's own transition preparations, but alarmed by little GOP pushback to Trump administration roadblocks.
They're engaged in an absurd circus right now, refusing to accept reality.
Without the Trump administration's acknowledgement of Biden's win, key transition elements like funding and classified briefings are stalled.
You want the presidential transition to go as smoothly as possible. You want the incoming presidential administration to understand what's happening today on the ground and what are the implications.
A few Senate Republicans have said Biden and his team should receive those intelligence briefings. The House Republican leader wouldn't say.
He's not president right now. Don't know if he'll be president January 20th. But whoever is, will get the information.
Meanwhile, Ron Klain has been announced as the incoming Biden White House chief of staff. Klain led the Obama administration's Ebola response, notable amid the escalating COVID-19 pandemic.
This is a very dangerous situation, and what we do right now across the nation, what we do in each state, will determine who lives and dies this winter.
Wednesday marked a second straight day of record high COVID-19 hospitalizations in the U.S. In Washington, Karen Kafa, KPBS News.
We are keeping an eye on the race for the District 2 seat on the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. And this week, former State Senator Joel Anderson pulled ahead of Poway Mayor Steve Voss. New results just out show Anderson expanded his lead again to 135 votes. Both candidates are Republicans. 19,000 ballots remain to be counted, but it is not known how many are in the 2nd District. District 1 will have a new supervisor for the first time in more than 2 decades. Nora Vargas beat fellow Democrat State Senator Ben Hueso to take over for termed-out Supervisor Greg Cox. Vargas will be the first Latina to serve on the board. She says her biggest focus right now is the pandemic. District 1 primarily serves the South Bay, one of the area's hardest hit in the county.
For me, it's really important that we find a balance. How do we make sure that our small businesses are thriving, that they continue to stay open, but at the same time, that our communities are healthy and safe? That has to be a priority.
Vargas was born in Tijuana and raised in Chula Vista, where she became a U.S. citizen. Her background is in healthcare and in education. She has served on the board of Southwestern College since 2013 and as board president since 2018. She's also an executive at Planned Parenthood. Vargas will be sworn in on January 4th. When the pandemic first closed down San Diego County schools, it meant school buses were left idle for months. But as districts gradually resume in-person instruction, transportation departments had to figure out how to keep their buses virus-free. KPBS education reporter Joe Hong visited one district to learn how it's taken cleanliness to a whole new level.
At Poway Unified School District's Transportation Center, 152 school buses are parked in long rows. Before the pandemic arrived in March, these buses transported more than 4,000 students a day. But the district's bus routes came to a halt when campuses closed. Now, months later, they're finally revving up their engines again. Since mid-October, when the district opened its elementary schools, buses have been taking about 500 students to and from school. Kim Denson is a bus driver with the district. She said she had some concerns at first about how the kids would react to the new rules.
Were they going to be able to keep a face mask on? Are they going to be able to social distance themselves? How they were just going to react to screening them inside the mornings and everything. So I drive special needs, and it can be a little bit more trying for them than other kids.
But so far, Denson has felt completely safe during her routes. Students are pre-screened with temperature and symptom checks before boarding, and they're doing a good job of following the rules. She says it also helps that the department is being extra careful with hygiene.
After each bus every child disembarks the bus and we come up, we just go up and we have to make sure that every seat is just sprayed down. Okay? And this has to sit on here for 5 minutes.
In addition to drivers disinfecting surfaces after each trip, buses get a deep cleaning every 24 hours with a device that looks like it came out of Ghostbusters. Tyler Bouquet is a vehicle maintenance coordinator at Poway Unified.
This machine puts out a fog, and so it's going to cover every corner, under the seat, anywhere in the bus is going to be covered in disinfectant, places you normally wouldn't be able to reach by hand or you may miss in the process.
But it's not a typical fog. The particles are electrostatically charged.
So the electrostatic part causes them to stick to every surface in the bus. So you don't have to, even if you don't point at that surface, it's still going to fog out and touch everything and stick to it and make sure every surface is comes in contact with disinfectant.
These disinfecting measures have come at a cost for Poway Unified. The Transportation Department has spent more than $45,000 on COVID-related supplies. The district has also lost over $1 million in revenue from the lack of bus pass sales. Tim Purvis is the transportation director at the district.
We want our students back on our buses, and we don't want the parent feeling that they have to drive their child in their automobile and getting clogged in that traffic at our school sites and everything. We want them to have that same confidence that when they're ready to return their child to a PUSD school site, that includes the bus to go with it.
They'll face an even greater challenge if and when the district opens middle and high schools, but Purvis says they're ready.
Our driver is key in this, absolutely key, and the parent having that confidence that that driver is assuring the safety of their child.
Other districts are also grappling with how to figure out bus operations. Cajon Valley Union, a K-8 district in East County, reopened all of its schools in September but lost 80% of its bus riders. At San Diego Unified, a limited number of schools have opened for in-person instruction, and a small number of students are riding the bus regularly. For the most part, the district's school buses have been used to deliver food and school supplies. Joe Hong, KPBS News.
Salk Institute researchers are hoping agricultural plants can help slow the march of climate change. Researcher Wolfgang Busch is looking at the possibility of adjusting the genetic makeup of sorghum. He hopes to tweak the grain to grow deeper roots that can absorb and hold more carbon.
Part of this carbon gets transferred to the root to build roots that can absorb water and nutrients. And we want to channel more carbon into the roots, make the roots deeper, and change the biochemistry of the roots in a way that the carbon that is contained in the roots will stay longer in the soil.
San Diego-based Sempra Energy is funding the 5-year, $2 million study. The findings might also help with other agricultural plants. Wildfires can leave environmental issues long after fires are put out, including mudslides. KPBS Science and Technology reporter Shalina Chatlani spoke to the San Diego scientists considering looking for some extraterrestrial answers to this earthly problem.
After months of major wildfires in 2018, Californians experienced massive mudslides that ripped through Southern California, killing 23 people and destroying over 100 homes. Wildfires attack the roots of plants and trees and can produce gases that cause soil to fall apart. These major 2018 mudslides and others like it sparked the curiosity of UC San Diego geotechnical engineer Ingrid Tomac. She studies the dynamics of soil flow.
I was asking myself, how is it possible that this soil mixed with water can go so fast downhill and can bring such a big boulders and destroy infrastructure and property so much?
Now Tomac and her lab at UC San Diego has received hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding from the National Science Foundation to explore the role of gravity in mudslides. Tomac and her team will send soil samples to the International Space Station in 18 months.
So the space experiments come into play to study fundamental behavior of particle, fluid, and air mixtures. There is a possibility that the air gets intermixed into this mixture. So now the composition of a mud flow, post-wildfire, specifically post-wildfire mud flow, is not well understood anymore because we did not anticipate in the past that there is some air mixed in.
Tomac says her lab will use soil samples from the space station to study how the gas buildup in soil after wildfires can make slides more likely, and hopes that her research can be incorporated into better prediction modeling to prevent destructive mudslides in the future. Shalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to KPBS News. I'm AccuWeather's Marvin Gomez. We have an area of a low pressure and upper low that's moving across Southern California. And of course, that's going to allow us to have some gusty winds, especially across the higher terrain and along the deserts as well. Strong onshore flow pressing in as well in Southern California. We're going to be dealing with some areas of low clouds as well as we head into the weekend. And overall, temperatures start warming up on Sunday. but we're definitely going to see a significant change for early next week. Here's a quick look at San Diego County tonight. Temperatures cool down to 42 degrees in Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna. 34, definitely a cold one for you. Meanwhile, along the coast, we're in the low 50s across San Diego. Friday, we're going to be dealing with the cool pocket of air again across parts of Southern California. The high terrain, keep in mind some of those mountains will be very breezy. Now let's talk about our temperatures for Friday afternoon. 67 degrees, the high out there in San Diego, 68 in Chula Vista, Ramona 67. Meanwhile, Borrego Springs near 76. As we head into Saturday, most of the Southwest dealing with breezy conditions. We're going to stay dry here across Southern California. Here's a quick look at the forecast along the coast. Mostly cloudy and cool on Friday, 66 degrees on Saturday. Still looking at some fog in the morning, and of course Sunday afternoon much nicer with a high near 76. Inland areas, we're going to have some clouds Friday and Saturday, turning nicer, a bit warmer on Sunday, but of course 80s will be back with us Monday and Tuesday. The mountains, partly sunny Saturday afternoon. Plenty of sunshine on Sunday, and we'll be back in the 70s Monday and Tuesday. The desert, well, we're going to be dealing with some clouds for Friday as well as Saturday. Temperatures in the mid to upper 70s and into early next week. That's when temperatures once again will be in the mid 80s. Back to you.
With the coronavirus vaccine making progress, the concert industry is preparing for a potential comeback. Ticketmaster says in order for fans to attend concerts in the future, they may have to provide medical information. They would be required to either verify through the Ticketmaster app that they'd been vaccinated or prove they tested negative for the virus within 72 hours prior to the event. The company said personal health information would not be permanently stored or shared.
But it is, given the situation in the back.
And as we've been reporting, San Diego County officially moved back to the purple tier under the state system to control the spread of COVID-19. KPBS investigative reporter Claire Tregesser looks at how that happened.
It was the middle of the afternoon, and El Toro Grill Taqueria in City Heights was completely empty of customers. Still, owner Maribel Estrada was hustling through her small restaurant. She took orders over the phone and through a walk-up ordering window she'd made that opened to the street.
Right now, we only have 25% open to the public inside, which for us is only 3 tables available. That's basically it. And now it's helping a little bit, but not as much as before.
Unfortunately, Estrada can kiss those 3 tables goodbye for the time being. San Diego County has sunk back to the dreaded purple tier, the worst possible ranking in California's system meant to control COVID-19 spread. For months, San Diego County stayed in a narrow range, teetering on the edge of the red and purple tiers. Yet, we haven't seen a huge surge in cases or hospitalizations, as is happening in other parts of the country, which is exactly what the tier system is meant to prevent, says San Diego County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher.
The tiered system is designed to have those checks that stop you before you hit true exponential spread and growth. And so I think the system works, and I think the system is working well for California right now.
Along with the tier system keeping restrictions in place based on case counts, the San Diego region has good weather on its side. Rebecca Fielding Miller is an epidemiologist at UC San Diego. She says good weather helps people stay outside where COVID-19 is far less likely to spread.
During those big heat waves, we had big spikes in cases because you can assume that if it's 100 degrees in San Diego, people are going to go inside where there's air conditioning, and because there's recirculated air, that's a better chance for infection. The heat wave that we had in late September, you can see there was cases climbed quite a bit right after that. So you can actually kind of see this pattern a little bit in the data.
As rain and colder weather comes in the next few months, Fielding Miller worries that more people will take their gatherings inside, which could increase spread. Fletcher says he hopes the tier system doesn't come under attack if that does happen.
We've got to recognize and understand that there is no economic recovery when you have increasing cases. And that's not just because of the tiered system and the restrictions, but that's the general public that is not comfortable and confident being willing to go out and do these types of things.
Fletcher added that he believes the county would have been better off if it had opened more gradually in July when the tier system was implemented, rather than immediately opening all establishments that were allowed under the red tier.
We opened everything associated with red on August 28th, the very first day we could, and I strongly felt that we needed to wait. We were on a downward trajectory, get down to where you have really low spread. And then when you have really low spread, then you can be a little bit more open with some of the things you're doing without the risk of closing people down.
That may be true, but El Toro Grill owner Estrada isn't sure she can hang on much longer.
Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of space outside on the sidewalk, but we ended up having 4 tables outside. But it's kind of like we have a lot of issues here for people pass by. We have a lot of trouble with homeless.
She and her husband have run the restaurant for 10 years, but without indoor dining, she says they could close in a matter of months. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom on Morning Edition. How video games are bringing together young people here in San Diego County and refugees from around the world. And on Midday Edition, we hear from a mayor in the South Bay who volunteered to be one of the first to get the coronavirus vaccine. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: viewers like you. Thank you.